It was the tale of two penalties, one game going and one decided on, guys. Welcome to our day 3 of round of 16 at AFCON recap. You know the deal. We're the Africans. We do Canadian African content. If you don't like it, I understand. But this is what we do. So if you like it, give us a subscribe, give us a like, give us a comment, let us know. The round of 16 is nearly complete. We've had our first upset of the tournament, and now we go in to talk about the games that were today. Let's begin with Mauritania finally breaking versus Cape Verde. 1-0, Ryan Mendes scoring the goal in the 88th minute off of a penalty, conceded goal. But this game was all one-sided. The only thing that was missing were the goals. I mean, we look at these stats. This game says everything you need to know. 18 shots versus 11, 4 on target versus none, 70% possession versus 30, double the passes, 25% more pass accuracy. Everything is there. 11 corners to 1. This game was just very much a game that you felt Cape Verde should have won, but their lack of goals was really showing. I think this might be the ceiling for this team. We saw them put 4 goals up and 3 goals up during the group play, but the question now becomes, can they now get the goals they need moving forward? I had a conversation with a friend yesterday, and we said, what's the ceiling of this Cape Verde team? And I said their ceiling is the semifinals, because I think if Morocco is somehow able to if Morocco falls to South Africa, I like their chances against South Africa versus Morocco. Morocco, I feel, is a better built team moving forward, but they will give you chances. There's no doubt about that. And I think that's what Cape Verde works well with. I mean, what can we say more about the man of the hour, Ryan Mendes? A solid game. Bebe played well, so did Cabral. But overall, this was all one-way traffic in Cape Verde. I think if they look at this game, they got the victory done. They've moved further on this competition. I think maybe close, if not the first they've been. However, now it's when you're going against bitter competition, the chances won't be as plentiful. They won't have a game where they dominate possession 70-30, which ultimately means they won't have a game where they'll be able to hold on, and the few chances they get, they need to convert. And we're looking at Bebe, we're looking at Cabral, we're looking specifically at Ryan Mendes, who's able to get the penalty today. But we need him to be a little bit more clinical when it comes to finishing this whole side as well. So we have Cape Verde moving on. They got the victory. They're moving on in their side of the bracket. And their side of the bracket becomes very interesting because, as we know, this side becomes very interesting. We know the winner of their game and the games tomorrow. It's South Africa and Morocco, which are the games that they'll be playing. So I think it's very important as we take a look at the bracket here. Cape Verde moving here. They are waiting for Morocco and South Africa, which is the late game tomorrow. And I think the matchup does really favor. We looked at this side, though, of the bracket, and we said, this feels as if this might be the more wild card in terms of maybe a lower ranked team does well. When we look at the bottom side of the bracket, there's a lot of hefty matchups, a lot of tantalizing matchups, and surprising ones coming through. Because as we get there, we see the first big upset of the tournament in the round of 16. There were other upsets, guys, but in the round of 16, Ivory Coast falling to Senegal in penalties 4-5, ending 1-1. This game looked like it was all Senegal for the first 80 minutes. Senegal had a lot of the play. Senegal looked the more dangerous of the sides. But I think when Senegal looks back at this game, it's missed opportunities. Missed opportunities to put this game away. We saw the Ivory Coast grow into this game. Senegal started to sit further and further back. We saw the Ivory Coast come in, and then we saw the fateful penalty, which wasn't called a penalty. I don't know how you don't call that a penalty when you see that in real time. Mendy takes out, I think it's Kessie, and it's very clear that it's a penalty. I don't know why the ref gave a yellow card for embellishments, but this is AFCON. There's at least one call we look at and we question. But from that penalty, it felt as if Senegal were on the back foot, and then penalties all the way through and going through. I think, yes, Ivory Coast has the bulk of the possession. That is more so with Senegal sitting back and trying to hit on the counter. So that is a little bit by design. But again, if you're Senegal, you have to look at this game and say, not necessarily did you waste an opportunity, but not this tournament overall, but the chances that they had, they left a lot of meat on the bone. And this was my concern for some of the big teams that you've heard me say this about Nigeria in terms of they'll score, but then they leave the door open. And against better teams, you can't get away with this. And against for Senegal against Cote d'Ivoire, a team that what was it 5 days ago were on the brink of not making this, and now they've defeated the former champion, the current champion, meaning we will have a new champion at AFCON this year. All power, all honestly, all respect, all praise to this team. They've done a good job. And they've played well, and it's just great to see. So now you have Fofana, Crasso, and crew now beginning to look at what they can do with Frank Kessie, Sebastian Heller, who scored in the penalties, and more. This does make their next matchups very curious, but for Senegal, talented. And this is a bit of a conversation I had with Nelson. If you guys want to check that out, it's a phone to mic, so I do apologize for it. Check it out at our podcast. Like, where is Senegal right now? Because we see the names, but are they truly playing with the form of their names, or we give them the pass because of their names? Right? Sadio Mane, great African player. But is he at the top of his game? One could argue no. Right? Sarr, Mendy, Koulibaly, Diallo, all these names we look at and say, look at what they are, look at what they can do. Kamara, but are they truly playing at their highest peak as they could be? It's unfortunate that the injuries took out Mane at the World Cup because I felt that would have been their best showing. I think with Mane on the pitch, they do a much better job against England in the round of 16 that they play. But when you look at that now, I wonder what the ceiling for this Senegal team. I think they can still keep it going for another 2 years. But now they're going to have to start transitioning because I think this is the last year for a lot of these teams, a lot of these maybe mainstay teams, especially those with older, more established players, right? The Senegals, to an extent, the Ghanas, to an extent, even a team like Cape Verde, like you see them playing well, but I think this is maybe their last solid year before they need to really inject some youth into the squad. Just looking at how much longer can these players be playing at such a high level. So with that being the case, now we move back and we see that now our knockout stages are very curious. With no Senegal, Mali or Burkina Faso in the early game. Oh, that is interesting. Who do you like? Because now you know they're playing Cote d'Ivoire, and the question becomes, well, do you give the hosting boost for being at home? Or do you say, well, Mali have the players, so they should get through? Cote d'Ivoire now looks very interesting because I think they could reach the semis. And then they're playing either Guinea or DR Congo. Cote d'Ivoire went from a team that wasn't even on their solid footing. They went from firing a coach, sitting on the outside looking in, and now there's a pathway where you could say, could they make the finals? It's not outlandish to think. And looking at the pathway, especially having bested Senegal in penalties, who was left on this side other than probably Mali, who I think on paper look like they would be up for it. Maybe they're a year or a cycle a bit too early in terms of getting players playing, especially getting their younger players playing it. But Cote d'Ivoire, all of a sudden, on this bottom half, I was looking at this and saying, this is going to be challenging. Whoever emerges from this might actually win the whole thing. All of a sudden, Cote d'Ivoire are looking like low key. They can hit the semis or the final. And that will be very intriguing. Then we look at the up here. I mean, people will assume on Friday Nigeria will take the game versus Angola. People assume that if Morocco wins, they beat Cape Verde. But we just saw the defending champs go out on penalties because they weren't able to finish their chances. Again, ultimately, possession doesn't win games. It is simply bearing your chances and being clinical there. And I don't think Senegal did a good job of it today. And because of that, they're on the outside looking in. Guys, AFCON is getting interesting. It's getting spicy. It's getting enjoyable like it always has. We're going to wrap it up here. And thank you guys for stopping by. Keep on clicking the wrong video. It happens all the time. But guys, thank you for stopping by. Let me know in the comments down below, who do you think has a better chance now to reach the semis or even the finals? Does Cote d'Ivoire have a good chance? Are we disappointed in Senegal? Will Mali beat Burkina Faso, or will it be vice versa? You let me know in the comments down below. Guys, thank you for stopping by. Until next time, we say bye-bye for now.